You have all heard the outrageous numbers. According to Forbes magazine, Tiger Woods made $75 million last year. Kobe Bryant came in as the second highest paid athlete, making $53 million. Very few occupations are as lucrative as that of the professional athlete. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says that the average teacher makes $47,000 a year, while the average doctor made $186,000 a year in 2008. These are still fractions of what Kobe and Tiger raked in. Such discrepancies between salaries sparked this question from many. Does the U.S. as a culture value athletes more than they value teachers and doctors? Today I would like to speak to you about how salaries may or may not reflect American values. When discussing potential topics for this speech in class, this one sparked a lot of debate among the class, mostly against athletes being paid so highly. I myself am a student athlete here at Georgia Southern, and while I probably will not be playing professional soccer after college, I still have always had utmost respect and admiration for professional athletes. Whether to justify or condemn this admiration, I feel like I had to look more into this topic. Today I will discuss arguments supporting the notion against the salary gap between athletes and teachers and doctors, and also the arguments against that notion. It appeared that most of the class was more familiar with the argument against salary gap, so let's begin there. The news these days is constantly filled with stories of high unemployment rates, more and more people applying for welfare, and families losing their houses. Many are appalled that pro athletes can be going on strike to earn more money or be signing million-dollar contract bonuses, especially during the time of an economic downturn. In an article from the PBH Network, writer Ashley Walker states that Alex Rodriguez of the New York Yankees made $46,000 every time he stepped up to the plate last year. Moreover, teachers are being laid off and forced to work without pay on furlough days. These facts force many to conclude that America values athletes more than we value teachers just because we pay them more. What the athletes do with most of their money nauseates people even more. According to Business Insider, Mike Tyson's scenes from The Hangover was not really a joke. He actually owns not one but two tigers, each costing him $150,000 apiece. Eddie Curry of the New York Knicks has a $1,000 a month cable bill. Chad Ochocinco of the Bengals sleeps in like this aquarium bed. His bed is like surrounded by a giant aquarium filled with exotic fish. It's cool, but it's a little over the top. And let us not forget the immoral and criminal behavior of some of our most favored athletes. Probably taking the cake for the most storied and publicized scandal this decade would be Tiger Woods and his sex scandal of maybe over 20 women, supposedly. And he went on to make $75 million that year. Kobe Bryant, the second highest paid athlete, was accused of sexual assault in 2003, and he settled out of court. In conclusion, this argument states that athletes rake in millions of dollars, while many hardworking Americans live below the poverty line. On top of that, many of them do not appreciate their good fortune enough to stay out of the jail report. Now that we have seen arguments disapproving of the current system of salary allocation, let's look at arguments supporting it. The main support or justification for high athlete salaries comes from a principal idea of American society: capitalism. People are willing to pay for tickets at high prices and buy the jerseys of their favorite players, which therefore pays the salaries of their players and teams. Many people argue that the alternative would be even worse. If the athletes do not receive the revenue they generate, then it would go to the already obscenely rich owners. William Anderson, a professor of economics at Frostburg State University, writes that the growth of athlete salaries is actually a good sign for the country. He writes because of the theory of the law of diminishing marginal utility means that people pay for what they need first, meaning like rent, food, water, what have you, and then they use whatever money is left over to buy extra stuff like tickets to baseball games. Player salaries have greatly increased even when accounting for inflation over the past 20 years. So this must mean that people are spending more money on sports because they have more money to spend overall. Therefore, the U.S. is more prosperous as a nation, according to the law of diminishing marginal utility. Anderson also points out that most professional athletes are not in the NBA, major leagues, or NFL. The multimillionaire athlete is the great exception, not the rule, Anderson states. Indeed, most pro athletes do not make millions like Tiger or Kobe. The average salary, according to the BLS, is actually $80,000 a year. Additionally, minor leaguers often share apartments with each other or live in a space provided by a teammate or provided by a family in exchange for tickets. This is not quite the glamorous lifestyle that I originally thought every pro enjoys. The next point again focuses on economics and the principle of supply and demand. In Anderson's article in praise of high athlete salaries, he notes that each year more than 40,000 people receive their PhDs, while perhaps 40 rookies make it big in the NBA. Simply, there are more teachers than pro athletes. According to the BLS in 2008, nearly 3.5 million people, there are nearly 3.5 million elementary, middle, and high school teachers, while there are only 16,000 pro athletes. Many argue that the U.S. economy cannot afford to pay teachers any more than they already make because there's so many. Finally, the proponents for the current system of salary allocation say that athletes serve more customers than teachers. 112 million people tuned in to watch the Super Bowl last year, according to the International Business Times. While these players brought in 112 million views for their teams, their sponsors of their teams, and the people that paid to advertise during this time, the average teacher serves around 50 students a year. Basically, this argument states that athletes earn tons of money for their corporations and should be compensated for the revenue that they gain for all the people they represent. Today, we have discussed arguments for and against the huge salary gap between athletes and other professional workers like teachers. On the one hand, athletes work in the entertainment business and get paid millions of dollars annually to play what is basically a game. This upsets many who point out that teachers are charged with educating the next generation and doctors save lives, yet make fractions of what athletes make. This gross difference in pay, coupled by the fact that many athletes act immorally and are in the news for criminal activity, upsets people even more. On the other hand, the salary gap is a product of the fundamental American ideal, capitalism. The number of people that can run as fast as an NFL running back or throw a ball as hard as a major league pitcher are scarce, so teams are willing to pay for their services and fans are willing to watch them perform at high prices. Economists like Professor William Anderson argue if people are spending more money on pro sports, then it is a sign that America is more prosperous as a whole. Despite athletes exemplifying the American ideal of capitalism and the be all you can be motto, Tiger Woods making $75 million a year and Chad Ochocinco sleeping in an aquarium bed is still a tough pill to swallow for many.